In 2021, Sam Altman published a blog post titled Moore's Law. For everything, this post explores the future of the economy, the integration of AI into the workforce, and the resulting policy implications. I highly recommend reading it. However, I'll be summarizing the key points from the article and highlighting some of the significant developments that are becoming increasingly evident each day. The article begins with the concept of Moore's Law. For everything, the opening sentence is one I frequently shared with my ASI economics community, emphasizing the inevitability of change. It's crucial to recognize that change is coming, and there's no use in pretending otherwise. He states that my work at OpenAI reminds me every day of the magnitude of socioeconomic change that is coming sooner than most people currently believe. And that statement isn't made by some random blogger, it is by someone who works at the frontier leading AI research company that exists today. Now, this was written in 2021, and it's intriguing to consider what Sam Altman envisions for the future of the economy. His statement is certainly memorable. Let's delve into some of the key points discussed in the article. So he says software that can think and learn will do more and more of the work that people do now. I'm going to say that again, guys. Software that can think and learn will do more and more of the war that people do now. And even more power will shift from labor to capital. And this sentence basically means that the value of human labor is going to go down while the value of capital is going to go up. Then he also says this, which I've highlighted right here. He says that if public policy doesn't adapt accordingly, most people will end up worse off than they are today. This is a statement that I believe is crucial to remember because Sam Altman emphasizes that if governments don't proactively create policies considering AI's growing capabilities and its increasing role in various tasks, the average person could end up worse off than they are today. I often remind my community that while it's beneficial to have supportive government policies, governments can be slow to act and may not always prioritize our best interests. Therefore, we can't rely solely on the government to navigate these changes. I like to think of it this way. The government will likely do the bare minimum to avoid public outrage. Beyond that, they may not take significant action, which is problematic. If public policy doesn't adapt, most people will be worse off than they are today. The article continues to state that in the next 5 years, computer programs that can think will read legal documents and give medical advice. In the next decade, they will do assembly line work and maybe even become companions. In the decades after that, they will do almost everything, including making new scientific discoveries that will expand our concept of everything. There are 3 important predictions for the coming years. The first phase involves AI systems that can think, read legal documents, and provide medical advice. Interestingly, looking back from 2021 to 2024, we can see that this prediction was quite accurate. Now AI can read legal documents and provide medical advice. If you've seen the research on this, you know it's no joke. Reflecting on Sam Altman's statements, he predicts that within the next decade, AI will handle assembly line work and even become companions. Eventually, AI will do almost everything, including making new scientific discoveries that will expand our understanding of the world. This prediction sets a fascinating timeline for future developments. The most basic takeaway is that over time, AI becomes more capable and able to perform more tasks that humans can do. Now, there are 3 points that he makes here that I think are just completely fascinating. He says that this revolution will create phenomenal wealth. Okay, phenomenal wealth. That's a remarkable statement. As with every technological revolution, there are winners and losers. Some people will get rich while others will be displaced. It's essential to position yourself to benefit the most from these transformations. This is why I created my community to help people navigate and take advantage of these significant changes. And he says here that the price of many kinds of labor, which drives the cost of goods and services, will fall towards zero once sufficiently powerful AI joins the workforce. Then he said that the price of many kinds of labor, which actually drives the cost of goods and services, will fall. And this is how economics work. Of course, if a product requires someone highly skilled to create, Hiring them means paying a higher salary, which in turn makes the product more expensive. Basic economics. However, Altman suggests that these costs could significantly decrease once powerful AI systems join the workforce. This phrase could mean several things. AI autonomously performing tasks on computers, or AI in the form of humanoid robots capable of handling various tasks. The implication is that AI's integration could drastically lower production costs and transform the economic landscape. Now, he's stating here that the second point, which most people just aren't paying attention to, is that the world will change so rapidly and drastically that an equally drastic change in policy will be needed to distribute this wealth and enable more people to pursue the life they want. Let's do that one more time. The world will change so rapidly and drastically. So that's two things here, not just the speed, but also how the world actually functions, that a drastic change in policy will be needed to distribute the money that is being absorbed by these companies that make these AI tools to enable more people to pursue the life they want. You have to understand, we're basically going to be in a society where only a few companies will manage to capture all of the economic value from AI. And then, of course, he comes to point number 3. If we get both of these right, we can improve the standard of living for more people than we ever have before. I think this is a true statement. If the cost of valuable goods drops to near zero once AI joins the workforce and wealth is effectively distributed, society could be significantly better off than today. However, as Altman mentioned, addressing this through politics is crucial. Certain policies will need to change and be enacted to ensure a smooth transition and to maximize the benefits of AI integration. Now, essentially, he said that because we are at the beginning of this tectonic shift, we have a rare opportunity to pivot towards the future. That pivot can't simply address current societal and political problems. It must be designed for the radically different society of the near future. Remember, he's essentially saying that while it's important to develop policies for today's issues, we also need to focus on the near future and how drastically different the economic system will become. It's crucial to anticipate and prepare for these changes to effectively manage the upcoming transformations brought by AI. And he says that policy plans that don't account for this imminent transformation, notice the word imminent there, which basically means it's around the corner, are going to fail. When you think about it, it's for the same reason that the organizing principles of pre-agrarian or feudal societies would fail today. Now, he says what follows is a description of what's coming and a plan for how to navigate this new landscape. Here's where he dives into exactly what is coming and how best to prepare. So he says that this is basically part 1, the AI revolution. He compares how the world looked 15 years ago. Think about it. There were no real smartphones in 150 years ago, when there were no combustion engines, no home electricity, and 1,500 years ago, when there were no industrial machines. And 15,000 years ago, there was no agriculture. We are experiencing exponential growth in terms of the human timeline. If we look back just 15 years, the world already looks remarkably different. Looking towards the future, imagine how much more the world could change in the next 10 to 20 years. He says that the coming change will center around the most impressive of our capabilities, the phenomenal ability to think, create, understand, and reason. To the 3 great technological revolutions, the agricultural, the industrial, and the computational, we will add a 4th, and the AI revolution. This revolution will generate enough wealth for everyone to have what they need if we as a society manage it responsibly. That is a big if you will. Now, he says that the technological progress we make in the next 100 years will be far larger than all the progress we've made since we first controlled fire and invented the wheel. We've already built AI systems that can learn and do useful things. They are still primitive, but the trend lines are clear. One thing most people don't grasp about current AI paradigms is the clear trend line followed by researchers at Frontier Labs. They adhere to scaling laws and continuously achieve breakthroughs each year. The volume of research published daily in essential areas propels these systems forward, enhancing their reasoning capabilities. Essentially, Altman is highlighting that an enormous amount of change is on the horizon, and most people are unaware of just how significant it will be. Now here's what he talks about. The economy has somewhat inverted. In the last couple of decades, costs in the United States for TVs, computers, and entertainment have actually dropped, but other important costs have risen significantly, most notably those for housing, healthcare, and higher education. Of course, housing is incredibly expensive today. Remember, in the 1950s, one job was enough to buy a house and support a family. Now, healthcare costs are exorbitant, and higher education is far more expensive than it used to be. And of course, redistribution of wealth alone won't work if these costs continue to soar. I mean, living conditions now, while much better than they were 150 years ago, don't help if the costs for housing, healthcare, and higher education have risen tremendously. He said that, of course, AI will lower the cost of goods and services because labor is the driving cost at many levels of the supply chain. If robots can build a house on land you already own, using natural resources mined and refined on site with solar power, the cost of building the house will be close to the cost of renting the robot. If those robots are made by other robots, the cost to rent them will be much less than if humans made them. Similarly, we can imagine AI doctors that can diagnose health problems better than any human and AI teachers who can diagnose and explain exactly what a student doesn't understand. Now, this is basically where he titles the article Moore's Law. For everything, he said, Moore's Law. For everything should be the rallying cry of a generation whose members can't afford everything they want. It sounds utopian, but it's something that technology can deliver and in some cases already has. Imagine a world where, for decades, everything such as housing, education, food, and clothing becomes half as expensive every 2 years. This is generally true for technology. You can now buy a phone with a high-quality camera or a TV with excellent pixel density and features. However, this isn't the case for housing and many other essential aspects of life, which remain prohibitively expensive. One thing that he says here, which I somewhat agree with, is that we will, of course, discover new jobs after a technological revolution. We always do. Because of the abundance on the other side, we're going to have incredible freedom to be creative about what those jobs will be. Now, essentially, this is where he talks about the new economic model, specifically something called the American Equity Fund. The American Equity Fund would be capitalized by taxing companies above a certain valuation 2.5% of their market value each year, payable in shares transferred to the fund, and by taxing 2.5% of the value of all privately held land, payable in dollars. Many people consider Universal Basic Income UBI to be the best solution to AI-related economic changes. While UBI can be beneficial, especially for those below the poverty line, it has certain limitations. However, I believe the American Equity Fund offers a similar solution with added incentives. This fund aims to address economic disparities and provide support in a way that encourages participation and growth, potentially making it a more comprehensive approach than UBI alone. He says that all citizens over 18 would receive an annual distribution in dollars and company shares into their accounts. People would be entrusted to use the money as they needed, whether for better education or other purposes. He also describes how this would work and why it might be better than UBI. He says that under the above set of assumptions, a decade from now, each of the 250 million adults in America would receive about $13,500 every single year. That dividend could be much higher if AI accelerates growth. Even if it's not, $13,500 will have much greater purchasing power than it does now, because technology will have greatly reduced the costs of goods and services. Consequently, effective spending power will increase dramatically every single year. He's essentially saying that your life is going to improve significantly, and that seems true considering the accessibility of advanced intelligence at a low cost. For example, with current technology, you can access a business consultant for just $20 a month. I'm referring to models like GPT-4 and Gemini Pro, available from leading frontier labs for around $20 a month. Moreover, cutting-edge models like Llama 3 are even available for free, demonstrating how technology can provide substantial value at minimal cost. Now, basically, he explains that as long as the country continues to improve, every citizen would receive more money from the fund each year. This would mean that every citizen would increasingly partake in the freedoms, powers, autonomies, and opportunities that come with economic self-determination. Poverty would be greatly reduced, and many more people would have a shot at the life they want. Now, here's where he talks about the tax. He says that a tax payable in company shares will align the incentives between companies, investors, and citizens, whereas a tax on profits does not. Incentives are superpowers, and this is a critical difference. Profits can be disguised, deferred, or offshored, and are often disconnected from share price. However, everyone who owns a share in Amazon wants the share price to rise. Essentially, they are saying that as individual assets increase alongside the country's growth, people inherently have a vested interest in their country's success. This alignment of personal and national prosperity motivates individuals to support and contribute to their country's well-being. So basically, when everyone's incentives align, it creates a beneficial situation for all parties involved. This alignment is evident in how companies like Apple, Microsoft, and others operate. These companies frequently employ strategies to minimize their tax burdens, such as routing profits through various countries like Ireland. However, despite these tax avoidance strategies, they remain committed to increasing their share prices. This demonstrates that while they seek to reduce costs, they also prioritize enhancing shareholder value. Now, the coming changes are unstoppable, and embracing them can lead to an incredible society. However, the main concern is whether our leaders will do the necessary work to ensure this transition is fair and beneficial for everyone. This is a challenging question, and few have addressed it comprehensively. Andrew Yang has discussed UBI, but it's uncertain how different states will vote on various policies. Ensuring a fair transition requires proactive leadership and thoughtful policymaking to navigate the complexities of these changes. If transformative AI technology is trialed in certain states or areas of the West, it will spark important discussions. Once this technology becomes widespread, people will start raising questions, and policymakers will no longer be able to avoid the conversation. So politicians often delay addressing issues, but this is not a matter that can be perpetually postponed. Eventually, delaying will become impossible as the issue grows too significant to ignore. Addressing the impact of AI and implementing fair policies will become imperative, requiring immediate and proactive action from our leaders. Now let's consider the impact of AI on jobs across different industries, focusing on their susceptibility to AI and the new tools affecting their work. Future projections also show how these roles may evolve. If you enjoyed this video, share your thoughts on this new economic model. Do you think Sam Altman is right about the American Equity Fund, or do you believe he is misguided in his efforts? Personally, I think it sounds like one of the more promising and realistic solutions I've heard, but I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.